So let's take a look at a whole bunch of tips that have to do with files and folders, dealing with them in the Finder. I think a lot of people don't know that there's a batch rename option in the Finder. So for instance, here I have a bunch of image files. I can select them all and go to File, and it says Rename and then the number of items that I have. It would just normally say rename if I had selected one item here. And you can do a whole bunch of different things. You can say replace all text with some other text, add text to all of the names, format text, so I can basically say let's format with a name and index. So like pick the number starting at 1 after the name, and it gives me an example. I hit rename and you can see it renamed all those pictures like that. You can undo that. You can also choose a bunch of other options there, like for instance renaming the replacing text. For instance, they're all named with .jpg at the end, but maybe something I'm using wants them to be JPEG with the E in it, so it just replaces that. So some really cool batch renaming functionality in the Finder. Now if you have a bunch of files, like say you have these files here, I'm going to go up a level, Command up arrow to go up a level, and let's say that was a project and I'm done with it, and maybe there are 1,000 files in there and it's really big and all that. I can compress this folder. I'm going to control click on it, and one of the options here is something called archive, and or rather compress. And compress creates an archive, and there it creates this zip archive. So there's the folder. It's still there, so I would normally want to delete that. Just Command and delete to delete that. And then I've got this zip archive here. It's going to save space, but also it's going to hide those items. Maybe if you have 1,000 items in there from a big project for work and you're done with it, and now you're sick of seeing when you search for files those items show up. Compressing it into a zip file is a good way to kind of get those out of the way. Now you can inspect items in the Finder like this image here with Command I or File Get Info. And then if I choose another item like this folder, I can also do Command I Get Info and have both these windows open. But what you can also do is you can create an inspector. So notice if I go to Get Info but I hold the Option key down on the keyboard, it changes from Get Info to Show Inspector. So you can use Option Command I to bring this up. And this window, you can see it's a little bit different at the top here. Instead of a full title bar, it's smaller. And now whatever I select will actually show information in this inspector here, which is really useful if you want to inspect a whole bunch of files. You don't want to open a ton of these info windows. You just want one and be able to select and click and see the info for that. Now one of the things that it's hard to get to is your library folder. Every once in a while I hear something like, oh, look in your library folder for this, or put this in your library folder, or something like that. And you can't really find your library folder. I'm going to Command up to go up. Let's actually go over to my main user folder. There's for my user MacMost. And there's a library folder in there, but you don't see it. Now there are lots of tricks and things for like making it visible and all that. You don't need to do any of those. If you use the Go menu, the library folder will appear here if you hold the Option key down. See how it appeared? And now I can select it and go into it, which is great because I feel I can still keep it hidden. It's still not there, which is good. You shouldn't really have normal everyday access to your library folder. But if you need to get to it, go Option and select Library to get there.